Well, we have Aristo with us today, and he's come up with a title before we even start. It's called The Blessing of Uncertainty. And I'm going to let him take it away, and we'll see where it goes. We're starting at 9:44 by the clock here, 2:44 by you, right?
Yeah, 2:44. Well, thank you once again for having me. We did a long conversation before the video started here, before the recording. And well, Ron was telling me about, his trip and his impressions, and I'm sure everybody who, reads the stuff on Facebook, the situation is still personal, with the commentaries about life, religion, impressions, this, that, and the other. And of course, there's a deeper personal, almost conflicted dynamic than before. Again, I'd like to go back because, I could have my own YouTube channel and express things my way. I may one day. There's other projects I'm working on. But for now, with Ron here, he's the context of whatever we talk about. That's the whole point. I mean, there's two of us. It's not just me, shooting the breeze and telling my ideas here. It's that, but the context is always Ron and his life. And everything that he promotes on his videos. And I don't mean promotes in terms of trying to sell you, but in terms of honest expression. Now this to me is significant because a lot of people said, okay, where's the old Ron? It's almost like rock bands, when I was younger, you're listening, and even now, oh yeah, I liked them when they started, and then they lost the lead singer, or they changed their whatevers, and they changed their style. Where's the old this band, or where's the old singer, where's the old style, where's the old TV show? They changed. And it's like, yes, change if you're entertained and you're satisfied with the entertainment may not be, what you like. But, for me, I don't tune into Ron's channel or read the comments, because I probably read comments more than I listen to the videos. His and everybody else's. It's the dialogue that gets me, because it's Ron's expression on the one hand, but then there's everybody else's response. You see, it's a microcosm of some of the things that are going on in the world with respect to a certain demographic. Now, I don't even want to label the demographic. I won't say New Agers, spiritual, alternative, I won't even say that because I don't even think that's the case anymore. More and more people are realizing that things like, vaccines are bad, we're being toxified, the electoral process, and this is mostly the United States. Europeans have their own way as well, and each European country has its own, problems and issues, and then you have the countries in Asia, and let alone the ones where nasty stuff's happening. So I'm just looking at a small demographic, trying to resist the temptation not to generalize. So I'm even honing deeper here into Ron's situation, because Ron in some ways is like a laboratory of sincerity undergoing the strains of trying to figure shit out and live a meaningful life. You're trying to figure shit out, but you're trying to live a meaningful life, and yet you're defining a meaningful life in a very, very specific concept. Correct me if I'm wrong, but unless you bring the heaven on earth and become instrumental in changing the world, your life is meaningless. Or it's been
I honestly see it to that extent. I mean, I've felt since I was a little boy that I was going to help bring the kingdom of heaven to earth, and to me that means to get rid of the cabal. First and foremost, to get rid of the criminals that have been running the world.
Exactly. Now, the thing is, that is a very, very tall, beyond ambition, life's purpose. It's a grand life's purpose. Okay. So the thing is, that kind of life's purpose is not clear-cut, because life isn't clear-cut. This is why I place the title Uncertainty, the blessing of uncertainty. Uncertainty leaves you with options. You may not see it that way. People want security because they strain, because there's frictions, their wheels aren't lubricated, because they're conditioned. We have natural immune systems to protect us against microbes, this and the other. We even have benign microbes to protect us against toxins and everything else. However, our environment has been toxified and our lifestyles are so artificial that we have undermined our natural immune systems. We have destroyed our own gut flora, the microbes that are allies, and our thoughts are polluted, and we end up slamming the stuff that's really natural and encouraging more pollutants in the name of trying to purify or try to be good. So we're completely distorted, we're upside down, we're inside out. And so if you try to bring heaven on earth under those conditions, you will bring hell up into earth. You know, it's like that.
Is that what's happening?
You know, I'm not saying it's happening. I'm saying that if everything is turned upside down, that everything you do is going to have the reverse outcome than you want it to have. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's simply because the same path where you're moving backwards is the same path that you can move forwards. It means that you are challenged to be discerning. It means that your ambition may be, on the one hand, simpler than you think, and on the other hand, much more involved than you think at the same time. Never forget, Ron, you said it yourself. You are a paradox man. You know, so that is the driving force. Only a paradox man can hope to bring heaven on earth. Now, again, I would be very much careful about how the conditioned mind takes hold of that ambition. It may be a true ambition of spirit and soul, and body even, because our body wants to overcome these things as well. You know, it's all one. However, the mind is, shall we say, the realm of where the problem lies. I don't believe the problem lies in the physical, like some people say. The physical may be restricted, but that's because it's cut off from heaven. You know, really, if you open up the channels and you have grace come through, traditions say the body opens up to so many abilities. You know, they even talk of immortality, but just like life extension is just one of them. Healing abilities, this ability, you know, even the mind heals and everything. But what stands between the body and heaven? The mind. That is the barrier. Who is Lucifer? The mind. What is the ego? The mind. What is, you know, the Illuminatus? What is illuminated? The mind. Psychopathy is an affliction of what? The mind. You know, the mind is not the brain, and the mind is not the thinking cognition thing. It also includes taking the impulses of nature, of our natural embodied being, and elaborating upon them as emotive responses. You know, it's a little more complicated than that. So the problem is the mind, and programming is not the solution, or reprogramming. Deprogramming is partially the solution, but you cannot be a blank slate and walk around and hope to do anything. You need to redefine yourself. You need, in other words, and I'm speaking generally, to bring heaven on earth. Let's put it this way. Let's take the Hermetic axiom, as above, so below, because you're speaking of heaven on earth again. They are reflections of each other, esoterically speaking. Or you can put it another way. The microcosm, the inner world, and the outer world are reflections of the same thing. That the world is, the universe is holographic. That's another way of saying it. The whole is in each of the parts. So in a way, bringing heaven on earth is not the issue as much as actualizing the presence of heaven that's here already, making it work, in other words. It's already here, but it's not working. It's not actually an active relationship with earth. It's here. Your very desire to bring heaven on earth means heaven is here. If heaven wasn't here, you wouldn't even be able to relate to the desire of it coming here. You wouldn't be able to relate to the meaning of that. What's the meaning of heaven on earth? Is it just for people to, you know, sit on the beach with a Mai Tai or something perpetually, and and then when you look at the limitations of the physical, you know, you say, okay, somebody has to work, somebody makes the food, somebody whatever. Nobody wants to. Well, we have automation, but then who builds the automation? Who does all that? Is there another way? We're uncertain, because solutions always need to be certain, defined, specific. And that's true for the mind. If you work for the establishment, they're going to put you in a place where they demand specific objective results. That's how they do things, because the non-specific frightens them. The non-specific is unpredictable. They cannot control it. Thus, grace, something that's an esoteric concept, a spiritual concept, doesn't exist for them. There's no such thing as that. That's why there really is no such thing as God for the psychopath. And this, the establishment then, since there's no such thing as God, then they cannot be Satanists. It's impossible. You cannot have a demonic, something without a divine one. Because either you're a monist and you say there's only God and nothing else, and so if I don't believe in God, there's nothing. Or you're a dualist, so if I believe in the devil, I have to believe in God. I can't just believe in the devil because the devil is not a cause. The devil is not a God. No matter how you cut it, the devil is a creature. So, so they just believe in creatures, and they like to think that everything is random. But what does random mean? They like to say, well, there's no intelligent cause. But then they come around and say, well, there is. It's really me. I'm the God. I just haven't realized it yet. So I'm the controller. So then they put this issue of what divinity is and what causality is, and it's all about control. And we know that. You look at the world, it's all about control. So to bring heaven to earth, you have to take the premise that they are the pivot of their existence is control. So you got to take away control. People talk about anarchy all the time. I see it on the internet, and anarchists, it just means we don't have an authority to tell us what to do, but we still want to be in control. I'm sorry, if you really want everybody to not control you, you have to stop controlling. And what does that mean when somebody's still controlling you? How do you stop controlling when somebody's not controlling you? See, I'm not giving you solutions here. I'm not giving you specifics. I'm giving you uncertainties. And uncertainties are the field. If there's one thing that's certain, is that it's uncertain. Socrates was famous because it says, one thing I know is that I know nothing. I see nothing, but that is a certainty, but it's not. He can't even say that. He doesn't even know if he really knows something or doesn't know something. He knows when he doesn't. He knows when he's ignorant, but he doesn't really know when he's not ignorant. You see, one thing that I know is that I'm uncertain. That's even worse than being ignorant. Even ignorance is a certainty, because we can all fall back. I don't know anything. Sorry, just leave me alone. I'm just don't. I have an opinion, though, and just I have an asshole and I have an opinion, and that's how much people esteem opinions. And yet, unless you're wearing a white lab coat or I don't know what, or have some kind of credited authority that usually always somehow comes from the establishment, you cannot have anything but an opinion. And I can understand that. But the thing is, opinions are not all the same. It's like saying, people are all the same, but we're equal. No, we may have equal rights, but we are not the same. We don't have the same talents. We don't have the same, distribution of capacities. We can cultivate those. And that's the blessing of uncertainty, because we don't know our limits. And so anybody who tells us what our limits are is full of shit. Because one thing we do know is that we don't know our limits, or rather we are uncertain of what those limits are. So the point is that you cannot rationalize a situation when the forces against you are the forces of reason itself, programmed reason. You can, and so my recommendation is to, as you said, there's something as, there's fear, and then there's this other thing, this terror. There's the instinctive fear that tells you, look, the lion's coming to get me, and oh my God, what do I do? Uncertainty. I don't know. But then something clicks in that you call wisdom or experience when we're mature, or maybe when we open up to grace or instinct or whatever you want to call it, and it says, okay, my fear is giving me the general solution of what happens when a lion comes after me, run. But my wisdom, which discerns and assesses the situation, is telling me, no, it is not certain that you will be saved. However, there's a much greater probability that if you stop and relax, the lion will not see you as a predator anymore. The lion will walk past you. Sometimes that may work, sometimes that may not. We don't know. However, there's always a however. You know, a friend of mine used to say, you always do that, man. You always say however after everything. And yes, that is another product of the blessing of uncertainty. You know, you always have a way out, a way through. You know, it may not lead you anywhere, but at least even if it's a half-dug tunnel, you can dig the rest of the way. The thing is that you have a sense, you have a divinely or naturally given sense of discernment already. It's your sense of feeling, your intuition, your gut level sense, whatever you want to call it. It's there. You don't have to be some meditator or mystic to practice it. You look at your desire of wanting to not change the world, because that's a definition. You may say, I want to change the world. I want to bring heaven on earth. That's like saying, I want to grow my son. No, your son's growing up already. You know, speaking if they're an infant and they grow up, it's a natural process. What you want to do is remove the obstacles of the natural process so it can happen. You want to protect your son or daughter so they can grow as nature intended, so they can make their own choices. However, when we try to do that, we often end up controlling them, trying to project our own sense, because we believe, well, if I made it with this, if the church saved me and convinced me that everything else is hell, I got to pound that into that boy or that girl, that, you know, you cannot defy the authorities or you cannot do this. We're actually doing the job of tyrants on our children. We're molesting our children through our conditioning because we are afraid of insecurity. We are afraid, we run away from uncertainty instead of confronting it. Instead of saying that uncertainty may be a lion and it may eat me up, but I'm looking at the situation, because the thing is, when you look at the situation more, there is something that happens. You become informed. You go through trial and error. You gain experience. So your opinions become informed opinions. They're not just regular opinions. That's why I'm saying no, opinions are not all alike. And the more informed opinions they are, the more they work for you. They may not be facts for everybody, you know. In fact, what is a fact? It's something that our senses tell us is true, and that's it, you know, that we can test with our five senses. But you know, existence is more than just, you know, what is there to our five senses. And I'm not saying something mystical. I'm saying you have to interpret what your five senses tell you. We look at a rainbow. I mean, well, it's just a bunch of frequencies, blah, 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 and that's objective. Is it? How about the beauty that we feel from a rainbow? May not that be part of the rainbow's nature? How do we know that this is just our response because there's some weird program telling us? And again, what do you mean telling us? You mean I feel this wonderful sense of beauty because something is ordering me to feel that? You know, if we really look at the details we take for granted in our lives, we don't have to reach far. We just look at our lives. That's why I believe some people say, okay, you went to Australia. Why did you do that? You could have figured everything else where you are. And maybe that might be part of the lesson. It's like, you don't really need to go anywhere. You already have the internet. As far as the mental fucking desire to make contacts is concerned, and it's relatively free, even though you're being spied upon and all of this, but who cares? The fact is that, excuse me, you are who you are, where you are always. The present moment is where you begin to change things, and even where change continues, because it's always the present moment. So you may need and desire to travel, excuse me again, but you have to, in a sense, come to terms with the conditions of that desire, and come to terms with the fact that the world may be as you see it, but perhaps your interpretation of what you see is not complete. It's not accurate. There's something, you know, that it's not because you're blind, but perhaps the program is in you more than you think. Again, you've been under a serious trauma. Your assumptions have been challenged. That's the whole thing. Now you're facing uncertainty far more than you were before.
Yes.
Back in 2000, far more. I mean, that's the thing. You want to change the world is an uncertain place. It doesn't mean that it's out to get you. Psychopaths may be out to get you, but the person of power, the mystic, the person who can bring heaven on earth, in my honest opinion, which I believe is informed, is the one who not only comes to terms and copes with uncertainty, but who can embrace uncertainty, who can navigate uncertainty, because uncertainty is a reality frame that doesn't tell you what to do. It just says, well, you know, it could be this way, it could be that way. You're on the razor's edge. You remember the paradox man walks the razor's edge. If you're the paradox man, you are promoting a reality frame of uncertainty. That's what paradox is. It's like, well, you can't dogmatize it, you know. So do you fear uncertainty? Are you equating uncertainty with fear? Or can you stand up and say uncertainty is actually freedom? It's freedom in the making. It's the call to freedom. But if something isn't this, then we risk. Well, again, everything is a risk, but the point is, yes, you do have a reasoning mind, so your risk can be calculated. Also, beyond the reasoning mind, there is intuition. I believe in intuition. I believe in the ability to, shall we say, have a dream that you should not go left when you drive your car because there's a big chance you might crash. I believe that if you sense, if your intuition tells you this person is not your friend, that you should listen at least and then play it by ear with that dynamic. I also believe that you should make it a priority. Should means that it's in your best interest. It's not a, you know, I ordered you to or whatever. I believe it's in our best interests to know ourselves.
Yes.
Not politically. But now you understand, if you really look within and even look at your life, that it is challenging you to know yourself, you know, to know how you respond under, I mean, yeah, it seems cruel. And in a way it is cruel because you are not just, you are under psychopathic conditioning. Religious conditioning is psychopathic conditioning, first of all. And that's one thing. Modern Illuminati techno conditioning is also psychopathic conditioning. And the two are in conflict. You know, that's one of the things that people are freaking out about. On the one hand, conservatives are like holding on to the old values because they're afraid of being pulled into the new values, so to speak, the new program. Whereas the liberal says, well, I've been battling the old values for all my life and I'm free of them. And then they feel themselves using the new values as alliances. It's like, why do you need these values? You know, who's telling you about these values? If somebody says this is the devil, why don't you take the risk and enter the uncertainty if your intuition tells you? I mean, a little child, does the child, for example, fall for the pedophile because the pedophile is nice to them? Or do they fall for it because they've already been conditioned by loving adults or whatever, that adults are all good people? Is it like the most primal assumption that adults are all good people? And it's something you can't and shouldn't, in my opinion, get, you know, shoot away from the child. That's their innocence. The world is good. You know, the world is good until proven otherwise. However, we are not children, because saying that we're children of God, we may say, you know, might subconsciously make us think we are helpless little diaper-wearing babies, you know, and the creator has to still change our diapers. But instead, if you have an adolescent who's wearing diapers and is screaming at you to change their diapers constantly, you got to do something. You're going to do something. What if they'll never change? Because they're afraid, because they've been hurt by some intruder. You need to heal them. You need to love them, but they won't grow up. They'll say, no, I refuse to go in the world. Just take me in your embrace and kill me, because that's what it means. Take me in your embrace so I dissolve into you and don't exist anymore as anything but you. Then essentially who I am is dead. You know, that's suicide. There's no way you can ask a loving being to kill you. You know, when your original premise was to live. If you always wanted to die, yes. And that's the thing. Some psychopaths are fragmented in such a way that they're really, you know, it's like Frankenstein's monster. You know, you have to put them out of their misery, and I'm not saying euthanasia, but I'm saying naturally a soul or lack thereof need not return. I mean, there's really, in the end, nothing there. If you don't experience yourself as a feeling being, you're nothing but artificial intelligence. And some of these characters, you look in their eyes and they're like some cyborg. You know, exactly. They're zombies, they're a cyborg, they're corpses being kept alive artificially, and anything they create is a corpse creation. And artificial intelligence, maybe if a loving, wise human being were to design it, might be something, you know. But if a psychopath designs it, who knows what it is? It's got to be fucking what we call demonic at the very least. So all of these things are challenges. We're being bombarded with them. And yes, I do not want to fall into the spectrum of people who go around and tell us, don't worry about it. You know, oh, this is all to teach you to grow and blah, blah, blah. No, you know, it's not that easy. It's not black and white. It's not yes or no. It's a paradox. It's not even maybe. Uncertainty is the maybe, but the paradox is the maybe. The maybe is the realm where you take the extremes and blend them together. But to be an artist, you're the one who has to blend them together, not somebody else. Anybody can be an art critic, you know. And to put it in a religious sense, if you believe in a personal God, if you're not going to, and you really, really don't want to be an infant or to be destroyed and being absorbed into them like some mystics do, you know, then you may just want to be God's art critic. To sit on God's shoulder and say, I don't like that, change it. Well, what am I supposed to do? I don't know, just change it. I'm not a creator, you're a creator. Oh, that feels good. Okay, you know, like some backseat driver. You know, a lot of people, without recognize it, are like, want God to drive the bus and them to be backseat drivers, essentially, or ride God like a horse, but not even hold the reins. You know, there's all of these things when we look at our deep motivations. But we have to look at them we look at them critically and we look at them evaluatingly, but we look at them with love. Because the thing is, it's like, look, you know, yes, I may be like that, but then I go tell somebody else, yeah, I might be a backseat driver in my mystical whatevers, and then, yeah, and all this, and I might be a hypocrite. Oh, you know, what's that for? Hey, I'm human, all right? And I can't change in the day, and I can't change in a year. It may take me my whole life, if even I want to change in the way that everybody else sees change. I'm growing and I'm creating myself. And everybody needs to grasp that. Or better yet, when I say you need or you should, again, let me be politically correct and say I believe strongly it's in our best interest to grasp what we really want, grasp our own transformation. Grasp our own growth, grasp our own accumulation of experience and cultivation of wisdom. Wisdom as the way to get through this into something meaningful. And then we may realize that what we're going through is already meaningful because it's getting us to where we want to go. If we can see that we can learn from any circumstance, then our circumstance is meaningful. Because we might say, well, this circumstance sucks. It can still be meaningful because it gives us the wisdom to change it in the way that is in our best interest to change it. Simply changing it for the sake of changing it because we want to get out, you know, that can lead us somewhere worse. And it usually is. That's how the establishment has a little cattle prod and pokes us. Oh, we got to go forward. We got to go this. Oh, you know. Oh, we have these candidates, we have to get one of them, or no, let's not get any of them, you know. But heaven forbid, we can't even, you know, make the system notice us, even though it's spying on us, because it's going to get us, the system. How much of what we know or think we know is actually real? How much is uncertainty? If it's uncertainty, can we actually walk into uncertainty? What is uncertainty? Uncertainty is a feeling, as far as I know, you know. Yes, it's a logical state of anything can happen or things can happen or probabilities, but that's again the mind. And that's nice. And my thing is, since we're mind controlled, we can't really rely on our logic. We are mind controlled, all of us, on some level. I mean, it doesn't mean that we're slaves completely. we are mind influenced, we are mind stressed, we are, you know, toxified, we are Wi-Fi, we are, you know, who knows what. And
by the way, just so that you know, it's 30 minutes.
Okay.
Just
yeah,
so that you know.
I know. I'm looking at it. You know, I was almost done like 15 minutes ago, and then, oh my God, you know, I could have closed it then, but, you know, so I'll try to package it in a nice way here. But I'm turning around and I'm saying, look, this is the mind. So all of this, everything that I've said is, for me, I view your, you know, and let me speak in the third person because I'm speaking to everybody here. I view Ron's trip as a trip into uncertainty. I don't view Ron's trip as a trip to go and, you know, bring heaven on earth. That is the big path, the agenda, the whole thing. But sometimes when you have the goal in mind, you miss the journey that takes you to the goal. And then you can end up going on a dead end path and you don't even realize it because you still got the goal in your head instead of really looking. You know, look where you walk and look what your scenery has to teach you in relation to your goal and in relation to what your own inhibitions toward attaining that goal are and your own definitions of that goal, because you are the paradox man. In my eyes, you have not ceased to be a paradox man. All of us are paradox people in a way, if we choose to embrace it. I encourage everyone to embrace the identity of a paradox person, because that's the person that cannot be data mined. It cannot be categorized. It cannot be put into anywhere. But paradox does not mean we constantly throw smoke screens in front of everybody. We are who we are. And to some people, we may not wear our hearts on our sleeves because it's not in our best interests, really, from within. To some, we do. Those are our choices. And sometimes we want to evaluate. But the thing is, what is in our best, true, meaningful interest? And I believe in our best interest is to master uncertainty. Master it, not control it. Master it means get to know what that feeling inside really is, what that twisting in the gut really is. Take breaths, feel it as what we may call energy and sensation, and let the body acclimate to that situation, because we are being terrorized. We're not just being scared. Terror is that, like you implied, Ron, which does not allow wisdom to come in. It is fear that forces you to react without wisdom. And maybe that's all an infant has, and maybe that's all an animal has, but we as human beings with experience have more. But the nourishment, the raw material, the prima materia, in my opinion, to cultivate wisdom is uncertainty. Step into uncertainty with eyes open, ears open, and heart open, knowing that you have the full, it's in your best interest to protect yourself, to sustain your integrity, to live by your own principles, and step into uncertainty and master your response to uncertainty. Know that it is your response, and then see it, view it, feel it. If I'm really, you know, onto something, that uncertainty is an energy that we can harness, that can mobilize us forward, that can open us up and stimulate the wisdom we need. That's all I have to say. I hope it made sense, and thank you for listening.
Thank you, Aristo. Namaste.
Namaste.